gold, gold. You got the power, you're indestructible. Always believing that you are gold.
What a way to open the gold interview. Beautiful. All right. Welcome. It's myself, Dwayne Richards, and June Morrow.
June Morrow.
All right. Who is June Morrow?
So I am a consultant and a strategist, and I work with transformational coaches and consultants. And what I do is I help them step out of isolation and into more authentic connections with people. And I do this through help with communications, with messaging, and with marketing. And my goal is to help people create content and programs and businesses that inspire them as much as they inspire their audiences.
Why is that? And why is that second or that first piece so important? That it inspires. For me, that I should be inspired as much as my client. Why is that important?
Yeah, so it goes back to almost like your intention behind doing things, right? If you're like years ago, I worked in corporate communications, and I remember learning if you're bored with what you're writing, and a lot in corporate communications is boring. I was working for the government, but if you're bored writing what you're writing, what do you think is going to happen with your audience? Your emotions come through in what you share, in your communications, in your words, in your style. And if you're not interested in it, or if you're holding back, your audience is going to feel that and they're going to hold back. So it's so important, especially as an entrepreneur, because you have to be self-driven, right? Like there's nobody out there saying, do it this way, so you have to be self-driven. And so when you're inspired, and that's where everything starts, it all starts with your purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is the difference that you want to make in the world? And what's the change that you can help people with in their lives? So that's why the inspiring yourself is just as important and as inspiring your audience.
That start with why. So for you, what's the I'll be the mirror. What's my why? What's the why? What's the purpose?
Yeah, so for me, it's about helping people feel less alone. That's ultimately what my purpose, and I believe my purpose on earth is to inspire people. It's what I do naturally. Just being me with all the crazy life choices I made and the way I communicate. And yeah, but the reason that the whole reason there is communication is to connect with another person, right? And it's about making people feel less alone. And if you're a coach, like whatever your business is, your business solves problems. And the problems that it solves is probably a problem that the person feels really alone with right now. And so it's like, you're not alone. Like I remember, Dwayne, when I first came to you, and I felt like, oh my gosh, my first year in business, my finances are a mess. I'm not making money. I was embarrassed about it. And you're like, yeah, you know what? That's great. You're starting out. And I felt like less alone. And it was really transformative for me. And that's why I love working with you. And that's why, that's kind of what for me is my why. It's about let's connect and help people realize that, what you're ashamed of, what you're struggling with, your pain, you're not the only one, and it doesn't have to be that way.
I like that. That's all right. I'll put a big in there because I can edit that out later. Crazy life choices. Let's touch that later. Early beliefs around money, because you said like when you start, or like early beliefs as a business owner, but let's back it up even earlier to say like earlier beliefs around money.
Yeah, I've done and I'm still doing a lot of work around money mindset. And my early beliefs about money were twofold. One, that there's never enough, right? And two, that it's really, really important to save. Because my parents were they were depression babies, or they were born like early World War I, late Depression. Their parents didn't have money. My father in particular grew up very, very poor. He would chase the coal truck down the street in this city called Paisley. Lived in a rough and tumble neighborhood in a tenement, basically grew up in a tenement. And yeah, never had enough money. And growing up, and my mom is also very frugal. She's a bookkeeper. She was a bookkeeper before she retired. And for them, it was really important to save. It was really important to not go into debt. Debt would be the worst thing possible that they could ever do. They paid for everything out, up front. They saved and then they paid for it, except for their house. And yeah, so that was the message I got from them. But at the same time, growing up, because they were saving so much, we didn't have much. And I mean, it's not like they had a lot either. It wasn't like they were hoarding from the kids. But they had 3 kids and we were lower middle class, and we couldn't afford things that other kids could, like ski trips or trips abroad or whatever. Like everything we did was very much within a budget, and a lot of hand-me-down clothes and not the latest toys. So I always had this feeling like, oh, there's not enough money growing up, which I see now as a myth, but that was something that kind of plagued me for a long time. Like either money comes and money goes. That was another one. Money comes and money goes.
All right. And now the being aware and recognizing that, but the work that you've done, what's a more positive belief about money?
Yeah, and I think that you can create your own money story, and I'm still very much in the process of creating mine. I'm going to be honest. I have, I've realized that sometimes it's okay to go in debt. There's good debt, there's bad debt, and that your life choices and what's important to you at the end of the day, how you spend money and how it creates the quality of life that you want, is ultimately what's most important. So here's an example. I didn't buy property. I don't own a home. But I have had a lot of experiences, and I've invested a lot of money in education because I love education. I have 2 degrees and a college diploma. I'm constantly taking courses to improve myself. And that's what I love to do. So that's where my money goes. My money goes into personal development, and that for me enriches my life. For somebody else, that money might go into a home, right? So it's all what matters to you. The other thing I've learned about money that was a big aha moment, huge aha moment last year, that I'm still, to be honest, implementing and hope to always be implementing and growing in this area, is the idea that it's not just about saving and it's not about cutting your expenses. It's about welcoming in more income. It's about having the capacity to receive and not being afraid to receive. And I think this is a big thing that sometimes we don't think about. It's not just about, like, how can I be more frugal and live within what I have, but how can I actually make more? And how can I create more wealth for this world? In the process of doing that, how can I help other people have more wealth in their life in whatever, not necessarily in monetary terms, but wealth in terms of like wealth of feeling fulfilled, or wealth of connections, or wealth of feeling like they're living their purpose. Because that's like the ultimate form of wealth, when you can stand tall in who you are and say, this is who I am, and I'm not making apologies for it, and who I am has value, and who I am makes a difference in this world.
Authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
What is that one of the words that we connect to that? Or what does authenticity mean?
Yeah, authenticity is everything to me. Yeah, it is everything, to be honest. I think it's about being true to yourself. It's about being true to your higher calling, your dreams, those things that are like, I have this vision and I want to do this. And authenticity is also a process. Because I find, like, some people say we spend the first half of our life getting our issues, putting on our masks, realizing what's not acceptable, how we have to be to get along in this world. And then if we're lucky, we spend the second half of our lives dropping all of that and seeing what's underneath. Right. And so it's a process of continually listening to yourself and seeing who you are, without all the noise, without all the pressure, without all the you must and you should, and this is what a good person does, and this is what a proper person does, or this is what other people do. And it's what's really right for you, what's true to you. And then expressing that and having the courage to express who you are and to be vulnerable. That's a huge part of authenticity, is vulnerability.
Courage. So I've read, I forget, I was reading one of the books I read recently talked about it's having the courage to make to make the decision and to walk your own path and do it. So
and courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is acting in spite of fear. Right. People think, oh, I just got to be brave, like I just have to have less fear. But no, you just have to act in spite of that fear. And when you do that, this is what I think, for me, we are all on a hero's journey, right? We all have some inner voice that's asking us to do something, to be more, or to do something. And when we get on that path, that's when we have to walk through the fear. And in walking through the fear, you see who you are. Because you let go of the fear, because you start to see, okay, I made it through that. That wasn't so bad. Yeah.
We survived, right? So you can survive and thrive afterwards.
Yeah, you get through it. You realize who you are. You develop strengths. It's not like you develop. It's like these strengths that were in you that you didn't know you had, they come out. You realize, oh, I am resilient, or I can make connections, or whatever that thing is that's holding you back. That's the thing that when you pursue your dream, you're going to face that thing. And if you walk through it, you're going to become more of who you are inside.
The hero's journey. What would the title of yours be? If it was a book, what's the title?
I love there's a quote I saw once called, I took the path less traveled, now where the F am I? Yeah, I don't know what my book would be called. I definitely something to do with reinvention, because I've certainly reinvented myself multiple times and I'm doing it again. Yeah, maybe Reinventing June. That's what my blog is called, Reinventing June. So maybe that would be my book.
All right. The work you do with clients. What's the biggest problem? We talked a little bit at the beginning about your clients' fear of the word of marketing.
Yes.
What's the biggest challenge your client? Well, first, maybe tell us, who is your ideal client? Let's do that one first.
Yeah. So I absolutely love working with coaches, like life coaches, business coaches, any kind of coach who is purpose-driven. They're coming from a heart-centered space. Maybe they've been through a transformation themselves and they want to help other people with that same transformation. So they're not necessarily driven by profit. They're driven by, I want to make an impact. So a lot of spiritual coaches and healers, that sort of thing. And what they're really struggling with is how do I get out there? And there's multiple things that are stopping them. One is they have a fear of, like we all do, of rejection, of being judged, of, and they worry about what people will think. This is a big thing, worrying about what people will think, because that's going to stop you from making those connections, right? When you worry about what people think. So a lot of them, they don't have email lists yet. They don't want to bother people with their emails. They don't want to bother people with their social media. They don't want to bother people. That's a big, huge red flag. You don't want to bother people, is you're blocking yourself and you're blocking your authentic connection, because it's about you. It's not about them. So that's one thing. Other challenges that they have is sometimes they just don't have the clarity yet on who they serve. So, or what the problem is. So sometimes people will start a business, you know, that this old saying, do what you love and the money will follow, right? I don't know what you think about that. I believed it for years. And so I kept, oh, I'm going to do what I love. And then I was like, where's the money? I'm doing what I love. Where's the money? Right. But that's not business. Your business doesn't exist just to like fulfill your own interests and desires. It exists to solve a problem. And if your interests overlap with someone else's problem, then that's where your business is, right? Your business isn't about you, it's about other people. Yeah. So I forget what the question was.
It's okay. The problem, so the first,
Yeah, the problem,
first part
right.
was,
Yeah, okay, so the
I asked
problems,
you to, and who was your ideal client? And
yeah, so
then
the problem is they're trying to just share everything they know because they love learning and they love sharing, but they haven't identified how that makes a difference in other people's lives or who that makes a difference for yet. So they're really very much figuring out like who is their niche, what is the actual offer that they give, what's their program, and then how do they meet people, how do they find people, how do they step out of their comfort zone and stop hiding behind the computer and creating posts that aren't really doing anything. So
right.
that's who I love to work with.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Now on your LinkedIn profile, I noticed today the 5 money blocking mistakes most coaches make. So we're not going to give them
Yeah.
all 5. You're just going to pick.
Yeah,
You're going to pick one, share that, and then you have a link that if people want, they can go get the other 4.
exactly. Yeah. So, and I think one of the biggest mistakes, and I just alluded to it, is hiding behind technology. And this is what this looks like. It looks like this. I'll start a business when my website is done and my branding is done, right? Once my website is up and I have all my colors and my fonts and I know what I'm, you know, and it's all pretty and I've got my templates on Canva on, you know, so that I can do Instagram posts. Once I know all that stuff, then I'll start figuring out how to find customers, right? Or they spend all their time creating stuff, right? But they're not actually doing one-on-one connections with people. So when you're doing that, you're actually hiding out. Because for a lot of us, it's easier to hide out behind a computer screen. And I know I did this, to hide out behind a computer screen and not risk getting out there and risk, oh my gosh, what if people think this is crazy? What if I fail? What if I'm rejected? What if people hate me? Right? And again, it's overcoming those internal things and realizing nothing's personal in business, but hiding out behind technology, or here's another one, hiding out behind learning. And this is a big one, right? Like procrastinating is what I call it. Oh, I just need to get 12 more certifications. Well, this is the thing. Every certification you get, you're going to learn about some other certification or some other course. You think, I just need to learn this and I just need to do this and I just need to do this. And it's like, it's that when this is done, then, but when this is done is never going to be done because you're actually using it as a way to hide out. And there's a reason for that. And it's acknowledging that reason. And again, it's courage. It's acting in spite of that fear. And sometimes it's simply, I don't know what else to do because nobody's told them. And that's fine, you know? And then it's just figuring out, okay, what are the steps that I do need to take to really connect with people and expand my reach and become more visible?
I'm guilty of that a little bit.
Oh yeah,
And
I
then,
do it too.
and then I stopped. So I don't really have a website. People say, send me a link to your website. I'm like, I don't really have one. Just go get some clients.
Yeah, you don't need a website. You don't need a website. I mean, after a while, you want to have a website. It's nice, but it's not the first thing you need. The first thing you need, if you're just starting your business, the first thing you need is to talk to people and to find out what they need. That's the first thing you need before you create anything. Talk to people. What is it that you need? Where are you struggling? How can I help you? Don't create and then push. Investigate. Don't create, investigate. I like that. Don't create, but ask, right? Listen. Listening is the most important thing you can do as an entrepreneur, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's gold. Since
On,
we're talking
on,
about goals.
on that happy note, though, I believe you do have a website.
I do have a website.
You do have a website
A
because
lot of
you've
time
got
on it.
onto that the need. So what is the website? Because you mentioned a blog and also the how they can how people can find the other 4 common mistakes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's gonna plant the seed of where they can find you and learn more about the work you
Yeah.
do.
So they can learn more about me at junemorrow.com. And yeah, and you can also, there'll be a link there as well to the 5 money blocking mistakes. You can get a link to it there. And yeah, my blog too, Reinventing June, which isn't live yet, but will be live shortly. That should be up there as well.
All right, so much good stuff. Reinventing June. I like that. Final message or thought for the reader, listener today?
So I guess my final message would be notice where you're feeling resistance in your business, because that is an area for growth. And if you move through that, that's where the treasure is.
The gold at the end of the
gold.
rainbow.
Coming back to the gold.
All right. Thank you so much. I learned a lot today.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't go away.